because David was host and you're under his name. So we just
right.
sure he's not host. We've got 224 teachers, and
so it's 10 o'clock. Let's wait till 10:01, 10:02, give people a few more minutes to log on.
And then Dr. Garcia, you'll let me know when you want to start the slide presentation, because I have access to share screen. I'll pull it up and you just let me know when you want me to click on a different slide.
Thank you, Lisa. And also, Lisa, if you can let me know when it's about 10:30, because I'm just going to freestyle the first part of this. And then I really do want to allow time for them to ask questions. I'll go to the video chat and I'll just try to answer as best I can. Okay. And then what view should I have it on? It says speaker view. Should I put it on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to make sure you're aware, we want to make sure that we can end this at 10:45 because we cannot be in multiple Zoom meetings at once, and we need to go set up the additional one at 10:45.
Make me get off.
I'll do my best.
I used to work in radio. I'll just go.
Oh, look at your background. Aren't you something?
Wrap it up.
So, I also want to know, I know some of you have more Scott, what do you call it? Ceiling on your views. Does that make your chin look better?
You want as much of a straight on view as possible.
Straight on view, chin down just slightly, because it makes us look better when the chin is down.
It also helps. It helps when you're at the beach.
Everybody else on? Are all our participants on right now?
We have 272 attendees on
so
right
you can
now.
hear us being silly.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going to start here in another minute.
Okay.
Joe?
279 right now.
Awesome.
Joe, are we streaming now?
We are streaming. I am in the process of eliminating the 3-minute one we had before so people don't get confused and think that it was cut off or something. So I'm doing that right now.
Okay, I'm reclaiming the host and I'm going to give it to Lisa.
Sorry about that, Tom.
Oh, look at you with your background. Okay, I want background. I want a background next time.
All right, after we're done, I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Although I do like the personal touch of people seeing their houses. I love your vent, Linda.
Don't you?
It's gorgeous.
Here's my I collect outsider art. Here's my Roy Orbison, the Wax Museum.
I should show people my Santana. I think I'm going to grab it so you can see it. Hold on.
So everyone's hearing this right now. It's great.
Remember, we have that hard out at 10:45.
So teachers,
you guys can see this, but this is my Carlos Santana. It's
nice.
It's done on a cabinet door.
Yep.
And he's here in my office prominently. Love me some Carlos right now, right? Maybe we should play some Santana next time around. Oh, is that Whiskey or who is that?
That's Whiskey.
That's Whiskey. We hear Whiskey. Whiskey joins a lot of our meetings.
Darling.
So let me go over a couple things. We've got 313 and growing teachers. Welcome, teachers. This is the K through 6 teacher meeting. We'll have a second one that is 7 through 12. They'll both be the same. And we are also streaming this. So if your peers aren't able to make the meeting, they can still see what the conversation was about, what kind of questions were asked. We're assuming that the questions at the elementary level may be a little different than the questions at the afternoon. On the bottom of your screen, if you roll your cursor down, you're going to see a chat box, a question and answer box. And in there, you can post questions. And I think, Lisa, you're going to be able to control that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's also a chat function that on the bottom that you could also share your chat. My name is Tom Ryan. I'm the Chief Information and Strategy Officer for Santa Fe Public Schools. And I'll introduce the rest of our group, ending with Dr. Garcia, and then she can take it away. Lisa Goldman is one of our teachers, and she's helping facilitate this. She's got some expertise in this and in Canvas. So we're leveraging everyone in the district to make this a successful endeavor. Then next to that, on the beach there, we have David Carl. David is our, I'm not even sure, is it Chief Information or
Community Engagement Officer.
Community Engagement Officer.
Chief Community Engagement Officer.
Chief Community Engagement Officer. He's, from the beach, also working with this. He's going to help keep us on track for our end at 10:45. Linda Sink, Deputy Superintendent. She might be answering some questions at the end if they get more towards that instructional aspect and how we're engaging different grade levels. Joe Abeda is our video specialist. He's also streaming this to our YouTube channel. And finally, even though it says David Carl, it's Dr. Garcia. Dr. Garcia, Superintendent of Santa Fe Public Schools. And go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, and I want to make clear that Joe Abeda is not an employee. Joe contracts with us, and we really appreciate Joe just making himself available whenever we need him. He actually works for the city of Santa Fe. But thank you, Joe. We really appreciate your just ready, able to support us at any time. So good morning, everyone. How many people do we have on the meeting now?
We have 340.
340. All right. So we're going to go ahead and begin. And as I said a while ago when we were just joking around, I want to keep it real. I want you to just kind of know what it's like every day in the life of doing this sort of work. We've been operating and implementing our preparedness plan. We spent several weeks, and it was tedious and it was hideous planning it. And so at this point, we're really happy that we did. We are running the district remotely. We are able to process payroll. We're able to do all the things that we've been doing for the most part remotely, with the exception, obviously, of handing out meals, getting devices out, that sort of thing, which is really phenomenal for a district our size to be operating at the level that we are. But I'm going to share some stuff with you that working from home has its advantages and disadvantages. And so, first of all, just your background, right? Where you're at. There will be interruptions when you are working with your kiddos. The dog will bark. Somebody will need something. I am taking care of basically, or supporting a family of 3. My daughter comes every day with the baby. He's now 5 months old, and my husband. I am cooking 3 meals a day. Guess what happened yesterday? I got involved in some interviews with the media. I was working with various staff. The beans got burnt, literally. So I remembered, hey, I've got chicken wings. They're raw. I can put them in the oven. I found a cool little recipe. I got another call. I got distracted. I came back to put the garlic powder, and guess what happened? The lid fell off, and now my chicken wings are full of garlic powder, which I had to rinse off and start over. I mean, real life happens. Don't try to keep the dog from barking necessarily. Don't try to keep from people interrupting you. We're all working from home. This is a different environment. Don't add extra stress to yourself to try to keep your environment perfect. Linda, didn't you have a dog walk in on you yesterday, or you want trying to get the dogs out?
That's right. And the mailman came the other day and they all were barking at it.
Yeah, and you just have to be gentle and kind with yourself as you go through this and keep your sense of humor. So, talking about keeping your sense of humor, this morning, again, David and I were doing media calls with the New Mexican. I was getting out directions to your principals about how you may be able to access the buildings in a very structured way. If you absolutely must get materials, and I mean that, absolutely must, we really need to limit it. Time got away from me, and so imagine this, no makeup, my hair's up in a ponytail, I still have my pajamas on. It's scary. You don't want to see me that way. Tom Ryan calls me at 10:40 and says, hey, are you ready to get on and for us to get you set up so you can have this call? True story, right, Tom?
That's absolutely true.
And I said, I can't tell you what I said, but I'm like,
I recorded it.
You better not have. And I ran around and somehow pulled myself together. But it is tough. It is very different working from home. And we know that now from having been doing this, and we don't expect you to be perfectionists and just to pull this off. It is a whole new skill set, okay? And thank you. I will try to be kind to myself as well. One of the things we can do to be kind to ourselves is to not watch CNN constantly, right? Not to be limit your information intake on that. Laughter is the best medicine. There is a lot of evidence around that. And on that vein, I was telling my husband this morning, I said, it used to be take 2 aspirin, call the doctor in the morning. For people in my age group, it's like take 2 Tylenol and call us if you wake up. Right? We're in that environment right now, but we do have to keep our sense of humor and to be gentle with us. One of the big themes that I talked to the staff, your principals about and directors on Monday is that we have to recognize how difficult change is. I think that you have had discussions about that already, but I want to remind you that it's not only you that is having to deal with this change of working in an unfamiliar situation. And so I'm going to share a couple more personal stories with you. When I first was hired in the Santa Fe Public Schools, it's a miracle that my phone didn't get broken, because in the Santa Fe Public Schools, you dial 8 to get out, and then you have to put a certain code if you're dialing long distance. Most environments, you dial 9, it's pretty easy to get out. I'd be like slamming the phone. I can't make a phone call. I wasn't used to being able to hold your questions right now, please, on content, because we're going to lose it. All right. So when we get to specific questions, we'll get to that. I'm spending a lot of time on the social emotional because it's important that you do the same with your kids. Okay. That they are addressing this. But what I'm going to tell you, I hated Google. I hated the Google environment. I came from a Microsoft Office environment. It was a huge transition to learn how to use Google Calendar versus the Microsoft Office suite. Now I love it. I was used to editing documents with people, sending it back and forth in Microsoft Word. Google Docs is great. Isn't it fun now to work on projects with people on Google Docs? You're all doing it together. You can be on the phone. It's great. Adjusting to this environment. We're going to have a study session on Wednesday. We've had, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 meetings like this. Now I'm used to the format. Had I been told last week that we were going to have to do a board meeting in this environment, I would have flipped out. We figured out how to do public forum. We have figured out how to do translations. Is it going to be perfect on Wednesday for our study session? No. So we will learn and we will adjust. So I want to assure you that every day, I love Zoom, somebody said, Jackie says, I'm glad you do. And what I want to say is that every day we are going to, at the end of the day, we will be meeting with your principals. Your principals will be telling us what worked, what didn't work. Okay. I also had and we'll adjust. So please know we're not going to let the perfect get in the way of the good. All right. We're going to do our very best to adjust. We recognize that there are equity issues, there are special education issues. We've gotten good guidance from the U.S. Department of Ed. There's going to be a superintendent's call later this week with special ed attorneys and those that address equity to ensure that we are, doing right by our kids. But it will not be perfect. And we just all have to be flexible and breathe through it. And I trust that with your creative can-do attitude, you are going to do absolutely perfectly well with this in this environment that we're in. I have no doubt about it. So at this point, I want to just share something with you before we go into the slides. And I want to find my notes. I'm going to be reading a little bit, but I want to share a little story with you about Thomas Edison and Henry Ford. And, everyone needs to be valued. Everyone needs to be appreciated. And that goes for you appreciating your principals, each other, your students, right? Our families, but everyone needs someone around them that's a people builder. And now more than ever, as we get in through this process, you got to decide, are you going to be a people builder, or are you going to be someone who, tends more to the negative side and drag people down? This will never work. This is a nightmare. We are dealing with a situation that none of us have lived through in our lifetime. Many have said that this is worse to deal with than what we dealt with in 9/11. So as I said, now more than ever, we need people builders. And if you talk to people that have been successful, they had somebody that believed in them. And so I want to share a little story about Thomas Edison and Henry Ford. Ford was introduced to Edison. If you recall, Ford had many failures over and over again. People thought he was crazy. And as he was trying to build a car that, or an automobile that worked on combustion. So when Edison heard what Ford was proposing and they met, Edison hit his fist on the table and said, "A car that runs on its own power plant? That's a brilliant idea." Up to that point, everyone had discouraged him. And that gave Ford the courage to continue on. It was the wind in his sails, so to speak. So we don't realize the power that your kind words, your people building words, whether it's with your children, your colleagues, your principals, every one of us should be someone's fan. We need to encourage people. Encourage, lift them up, celebrate their successes. That's what it means to be a people builder. Now more than ever, we need people builders. All right, so now can we go to my first slide, Lisa? Go to the second slide.
Go to present first.
She did. So, all right, and I'm gonna shrink. I don't know if some of you may need to shrink the screen. I don't know if you can control that because it's covering up part of my slide, Lisa. The view is covering up the part of the expectation section.
The view.
You're muted, Lisa. And I'm hearing from people they can't see it.
Oh, it's covered, and I'm sharing.
They said they can see it.
They can.
Okay,
Yeah.
but part of it, for me, the expectation section is half blocked. So before
Really?
they were able to show it.
So on your screen, Dr. Garcia, if you go to where the videos are, there's a minimize option at the top left. That you can hit
where?
that.
Yeah, because I've
You see-
minimized mine.
Do you see where everybody's videos are on the right side of your screen?
Yes.
Right above it, if you scroll your cursor over that, there's an option there
I
on the
see
top
it.
left that
I
says
see
hide
it.
thumbnail.
I see it. Okay, here we go.
Is that better?
So yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
And then, okay. All right, so the core values. We want to, all is okay. Thank you, James Wright, wherever you are. So equity and equal access for all students. We will follow all of the regulations, the guidance from the U.S. Department of Education, as well as the state. As if you are a special education teacher and there are certain concerns about certain kids, we may need to work with them please review the truth of the Ford Edison anecdote. Give me some poetic license, okay? It is a story that I have read and have heard repeated on numerous occasions. It may have not happened exactly like that. Poetic license, please, thank you. Equity and equal access for all students. We want to ensure that we are doing the very best that we can. For special education students, there may need to be unique situations worked out, certain conditions worked out. The provision of a compensatory education will be provided as appropriate. But please work with your principals. I'm going to ask that for the most part, questions that you have, you feed them to your principals. They'll feed them to us in our weekly meeting. It will be a lot more efficient than if you individually are emailing district level staff. That doesn't mean you can't, but it would be more efficient if you work through your principal. Commitment to educate the whole child. We have to keep the affective and cognitive domains in mind. So if you remember back to your coursework, right? And so if kids are stressed out, if they're not feeling happy, if they're not calm, it's going to be more difficult for them to focus. So these are not the ideal times for us right now to get the best kind of performance for our kids, which is why the state is requesting a waiver from the U.S. Department of Education on the standardized required tests. I'm predicting that the U.S. Department of Ed will probably give a blanket waiver to all states, but we shall see. Remembering Maslow's hierarchy of need. If kids are hungry, if kids are not well, if kids are worried, if parents have lost their jobs, concern about deportation, any number of issues, right? Again, they're not going to be as focused. So more than ever, we need to be aware of that and cognizant of that. Understanding the psychological impact of the change process on faculty, staff, students, and families is something that we talk to our principals about, to recognize that you as teaching staff it's going to be tough for you. And many of you may have children at home that you are also trying to help and support, or that may fall and get a boo-boo in the middle of a lesson, or maybe you might have someone at home that's ill. You're going to need to work with your principal to be able to see if someone can cover for you. You may need to team and support each other in different ways. Right now, we just have to blow up our concept, deconstruct how we think about delivering school, and do our best to provide some access to our students to continue their educational process. And also a commitment to consider the well-being of all stakeholders. I'm going to also remind you, when working from home, to make sure you hydrate, that you get up and you stretch. It's real easy to sit in front of your computer all day. I can tell you that I'm feeling the physical effects of that. My back is killing me. I go to bed at night and my whole body's just aching, because I'm not used to just sitting all day. I'm used to jumping around, moving to meetings, even though I'm not like on my feet. But those of you that are used to being on your feet all day, being on a screen is going to you're going to have to take good care of yourself. Our expectations is that we build a system for use by all students, teachers, and administrators, and that allows safe and secure access to high quality teaching and learning resources. But that's our aspiration. We will gear up to that, right? We are starting very minimally. We are not set up to be an online learning school. And that's not our intent completely, right? Because you may do phone conferencing. You may do email. You may, at some point, we will talk about how we may deliver packets for those that don't have access. But this will be, we want you in these next 2 weeks to get used to the tools, to get used to the environment, to give us feedback so that we can make the appropriate adjustments as we move forward. I don't know for a fact if we will be closed till the end of the year. If I were reading the tea leaves, most likely I think that we will, but I don't know. I am not a health, public health official. I don't pretend to know how this coronavirus will continue to spread or not. I watch the news and read information just like you do, but I'm not an expert. So, but my guess is that we'll be in this environment for a while. Ability to interface with other instructional systems or supports, right? We are right now, you can log into PowerSchool, I hope, right? You'll be able to, in terms of assessments right now, I'm not sure what that will mean. I don't know what that means about being able to, I doubt that we'll even use short cycle assessments at this point. So, but we're going to start with basic skills and grow. We are asking that you record attendance. If the students log in once, that is considered attendance. But again, all of this is somewhat relaxed right now. We want to move, towards the best, strong pedagogical best practices for this environment. And I can't stress enough the importance of keeping an open mind and being flexible. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, you know, it's like, wouldn't it be easier just to be shut down and not provide anything? You know, our students deserve the best learning and support we can offer them. We also don't want to lose contact with them. Whatever gains we've made, we want to be able to maintain, you know, I know it's going to be difficult, but to be not have them regress. We have a lot of investment. Our community has invested in digital, our whole educational technology note, right? And I think there is an expectation that those that have the resources to do, that they do. For those districts that don't, they will be required to provide support in a different way. But adaptability is a key skill. And it's a skill that we want our students to have. And so the best that we can do for them to help prepare them for when they go out into the world away from school is to be able to adapt. And the best way we do that is by all of us modeling adaptability. Administrators and teachers have the expertise to make this happen, and the creativity and the can-do. And the feedback that we received from principals yesterday is they were so impressed with your attitude and your creativity and your teamwork. And every school will look a little bit different. Every school is approaching this differently. And so we are not taking a cookie cutter approach. We're moving with a plan. You know, at first we thought we were just going to have to provide something for 2 weeks. Looks like it might be a little bit longer. When we say long-term, we don't ever intend to be a full online learning district, but there's so many skills and things that we have are learning from this that I think will help us in the future. You know, I've never, other than getting together for the back to school rally, I rarely get to communicate with teachers in this sort of format. Or what I'm saying, not this sort of format, just communicating with you, right? And the back to school rally really isn't I could shake hands and say hello, but this would be great. You know, as we move forward, I could do a video chat with a whole school, right? If I can't get to, I could hit 2 or 3 schools and be able to communicate with you more effectively. So we're learning so many things from this that are going to help us address future challenges and best teaching practices. Is there another slide, Lisa? Or if not, you can put me back. Okay. So our general principles, I mentioned this earlier. I keep messaging this to our parents. I will be doing that again this week. Deconstruct, blow up in your mind, your concepts, right, of how we deliver educational programming. We want to allow teachers to provide instruction in a manner that's most comfortable for you. We want teachers to be trained on open access. I hope that as you've gotten to use it, that perhaps you like it. But for example, if you feel most comfortable using the tools right now in, say, Google Classroom, but over time, if this extends, say, to the end of the year, or who knows, like worst case scenario into the fall, having one system that the help desk can support would be better. But we will assess this as we move along. But please keep an open mind about open access. And if you can adapt to that, it will make it easier for us to better support you. We're going to engage in a continuous improvement cycle. And that means that as we, if you're not familiar with quality tools, a continuous improvement cycle is plan, do, study, act. So we've been planning this. Now, you know, we're launching it. We're going to do it. And then you're going to act, right? We're going to see how this proceeded. You're going to give us information. We're going to study the results that we get, and we start the cycle over again. So we will engage in a continuous improvement process. I guarantee you there are going to be problems. I guarantee you it will be choppy. It will be chaotic. Sometimes it'll be downright miserable, but there's going to be a lot of success, and we're going to learn from the successes. We're going to learn for where we can improve. Why was it miserable? Where was the failure? Why was it choppy? What can we do to mitigate that? And if we can keep faith and hope in each other and build people up, be people builders, we're going to get through this together. We don't have all the answers. We also don't have all the questions. We won't know until we actually get into it. And we're only human. You know, at the district level, I can tell you that there are many, many district leaders that have been working since before the Friday of spring break, probably 12 hours a day. There's some of us that have not had a weekend. We've worked Saturday and Sunday, literally all day long, dealing with a variety of things that you can't even imagine that have to be addressed on a daily basis, coordinating with city and county government, state government, from something as simple as providing the National Guard gloves, right? You get a call at 10 o'clock at night, and then you get a call on Sunday morning, and coordinating those efforts. There are so many moving parts that are going to behind supporting, keeping the district running and keeping support to you and keeping communication going and standing up basically a distance learning program for which we were not structured to do. And so my hat's off to the various departments, and particularly general services, the IT department, curriculum. Well, I can name them all. They've all been critical, curriculum and instruction, the business services, right? Communications, all of our departments, human resources have been incredible and have been working nonstop to provide the best support we can. So, you know, we won't be able to physically and the capacity we have to address every single issue immediately, but we will do our very best to do the best we can by you. So flexibility, adaptability, and open-mindedness are key. Is there another slide? Lisa, is there another slide, or am I done?
Lisa, you're muted.
Oh, no, I see it. So I talked about it here already, but this was just a smattering of the amazing effort. I talked about it. I don't think I had the slide in front of me, but this is just a tiny piece. Before we go to Q&A, and I want to go back to, so David, help me to get back to myself. Do I hit the?
So Lisa will need to stop sharing her screen.
All right, Lisa, stop sharing your screen, and then which I'm back to that where I minimize. Which one do I hit? Okay, my back on.
Yep.
All right. So before we do, let's see, how much time do we have left? 15 minutes?
13 minutes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do questions and answers, and type them in. I will try to respond as best I can. You can sort of pace yourself.
I can read you some of the questions that are already in here, Dr. Garcia.
I can see them, David.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Garcia, do you have the chat or the question and answer tab?
Yeah.
I think if they email their question, it's easier for us to be able to answer them. Did you want to do it?
There is a tab at the bottom that says Q&A, and people have been entering their answers and entering their questions in there, rather.
Oh, okay. Well, then when I open that, that's in a different place. And now I can't see anybody. So why aren't they doing the chat?
Well, the question answer allows you to give a answer to the specific question.
Right. Well, they can on the chat too, because I'm getting them on the chat, because the Q&A, I'll answer those, but if we can go to chat after I answer these, if I can. If we're putting this much effort to learning the platform and developing content for it, is this something we'll be able to keep? Yes, I think that we might be able to use some of these functions in certain circumstances. Kids that are homeschooled, kids that might be sick, kids that are suspended. But at this point, I think we're going to wait, and we'll get to that later. Right now, I just want to be able to stand up what we're doing right now. Can kindergarten work through Class Dojo and Seesaw? I would imagine they can. And if they're familiar with that, right, Tom, for now?
And we'll be linking those within the open access environment also.
Can you use Zoom on iPads? I think the answer is yes, correct?
Inside open access, we have a tool called Big Blue Button that will do all of this in a safe environment and allow their students to get in.
In terms of pre-K, please work with Patricia Asuara rather. She will be answering all the pre-K questions, okay? Will teachers be will teachers be provided a list of permitted, not permitted resources, rumors about what is allowed by FERPA and what's not allowed? I don't think your resources are limited by FERPA. I think the resources that we provide, if you have a specific question, work with your principals. How do students from first grade access open access? What username and password? Lisa, Tom?
I'm sorry, I was reading another text.
It says, how do students, I'm just on the Q&A section right now because that's where you told me to go. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Okay. How do students from first grade access to open access? What username and password do they use?
Yeah, so we're really looking at, and Linda can go over this more, we're really looking at the littles as instruction that's going to be provided to the caregiver so that they can engage their student. We're the child. We're not looking at the student be looking at a screen for 4 hours, but more, here's the assignments, things that you should be working with your child, or and how we will do that. Linda, did you want to expand at all?
Is that all right, Dr. Garcia?
Yeah, but you know what, I want to go ahead and answer that one, but I just want to say something. I really did not want to get into this detail of question and answer. I wanted this to be more general, talking to me philosophically about where we're going, because you really need to be getting these questions to your principals. They may have some of those answers, the digital coaches have them, and we're going to run out of time. But go ahead, Linda.
Just very quickly, I know that K2 teachers have had questions about this. And basically what we're seeing from different schools is, and especially with preschool and some kinder, for instance, is they're designing a lesson plan together on open access. In other words, the teachers work together on open access, build a lesson per week, and then they provide all the resources in the lesson to the parents, like through Class Dojo, Bloomsy, different apps that we can help you with and tech can help you with later. But there are fun ways to work with the parents and the students to see great videos, etc.
It says, thank you for the feedback, appreciate your positive feedback there. Why have we been widely trained on Google if now we are going to use Canvas? I find it environment extremely unfriendly for fourth graders. Again, you can use the environment that you think is best. Right now, we feel like we can support you better on Canvas, but I will take that feedback, right? This is a 2-week pilot. We're gonna get the feedback, and based on the feedback, we'll make adjustments. Lisa, I see you shaking your head. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I know at least at Santa Fe High School, Kate Gomez, she's training people in the use of open access, but we're leaving it up to the teachers. They can either use open access or they can use Google Classroom, or they can integrate them, because open access Canvas allows you to integrate Google Drive into it. So, yeah.
Before we go live on Monday, we'll provide you the guidelines for taking attendance. But again, it probably is going to be spotty. I think that the state recognizes that we're all doing the best that we can. It will not be perfect, okay? How do you know if students log in? You'll know if you're interacting with them, I guess, right? That would be my sense of that. But Lisa, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I mean, you'll know when a student logs into Open Access Canvas, because when you go in to the platform, it'll show the amount of time that they've spent. It gives you basically metrics as to when and how long your students have logged in and participated. So even if you're not actually with them live, you can go onto Canvas and look at the metrics, and it's very easy. I mean, again, I'm happy to show people.
So let's keep going because we're running out of time.
Yep.
How do we integrate Canvas platform with Seesaw? Please work with your digital coaches on that. Pre-K not getting devices. We're not getting pre-K devices. It's funded through a different program. It's a different funding source. Pre-K, we have to apply for that, and we have a limited budget. We cannot use the ETN resources for pre-K, okay? We can only use them for K-12. So that's why we don't have the funding to do this uniformly for pre-K. We are working on figuring out how we're going to get packets. We are working on how we're going to provide access to students from hotspots to a allowing them to drive up and download content. So be thinking of how you can have content that they can download just to keep their program going. You heard that open access isn't for K2. Please use what you feel comfortable with right now and give us feedback. We may have to back off of open access for the lower grades. We don't know yet. Try it. If it doesn't work, do what makes sense for you. Adapt, do what's best. We are working on access for families. That's what about 90% of our families, we are told, based on what they gave us for registration, have access. We also know that a good number of our parents have telephones. We are very cognizant of the equity issue and are working on that. Parents, I don't know if I answered the question earlier. We will let parents know that we're tracking attendance. If I can meet with individual schools down the line, we definitely will do that. I have to tell you, I'm going 100 miles an hour right now. That's probably not going to happen in the next 2 weeks. We will be looking at mailing. We're going to look at a variety of ways of how we can get packets to families. I'd like to know how to download Zoom, work with your digital coach at the school level. What an online elementary day might look like. Your principal should have already told you that. You should have gotten that in the training. Talk to your principals on that one. But Linda, do you want to just very quickly, we got 4 minutes left. What does an elementary day look like?
All right, elementary day. What I proposed, and this was up to you on timeline, but we proposed a schedule. Please ask your principal about that schedule so you can see it. But for example, at about 9 o'clock each day, you would come on in different ways, especially with open access, or as I said, with Class Dojo, whatever you're familiar with, you get on with your kids. You may do it through a video on what you would like them to work on that day. You may be giving out a weekly schedule to them or a weekly lesson plan, but you follow up with them on what you'd like them to finish for this day, for a Tuesday, for a Wednesday. And then you can have chats, you can have a video for them, and then you would get off and let them work while you work maybe for the next day on what you need. There will be people to help you and support you all day. That's when you can talk to your digital coach. That's when you can get on and talk with curriculum folks. We're going to be there to help you every day. So I hope that helps a little bit. We'd also like for you to go back on with your students, at least for a few minutes in the afternoon, to see how they're doing. Let them know what you want to see them return what to you. Is it through a discussion, or do you want them to return work to you somehow?
Some school districts, I was on a call with superintendents where the parent takes a picture of some of the work and then texts it or emails it in. So people are being very creative. But in terms of instruction, math and ELA for sure, but have some fun with your kids, all right? And encourage kids to participate in the superintendent's challenge. There can be a lot of fun there too, but that's not graded or anything else. You know, lots of questions about, the type of program. Use what you are comfortable with, but be open-minded to access and know that you'll get the most support there. We will reassess this as we go along, okay? And we will, I mean, we're not, again, we are doing the best we can right now with the best information. I have to trust our IT experts. Dr. Ryan is an international expert and is called to support people all over the world in implementing this kind of learning program. So I trust them when they say that going with access is the best way, but it might not be for the early grades, or we may have to be flexible for the rest of this school year and say, okay, you may not get as much support. We're making this up as we go. I've got 1 minute and I've got to get off, but I do want to share with you something. And that is that children love the question. They seem to be okay with the unknown, right? They almost relish in that just as much as kids like to laugh a lot and little kids run everywhere. And as we become adults, we become less comfortable with not always having the answer, with dealing with ambiguity. You don't want to be the dumb kid in the class that doesn't get it and everybody else does. We have to free ourselves right now to be like kids, to be okay with not knowing, to be a little uncomfortable with what we're doing, to ask for help. Kids knowing that we're all just trying to figure this out. We're all doing the best we can. We'll go a long, long way. I got to get off now so they can go to the next call. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging in there with us and for working with the Santa Fe Public Schools. We're going to do the very best to support you. Take care of yourselves. Be well.
Okay. I'm gonna scooch out and go over to the next meeting and get that one ready. The slides.
You can go ahead and end the meeting, Lisa.